அனைவருக்கும் எனது இரவு வணக்கம், நன்றி, வாழ்த்துக்கள்.
පස්සේ ඒක නෙවෙයි මම ලොකු ප්‍රශ්න නෙමෙයි ඒගොල්ලෝ නිකන් කිව්වා ඩිස්ටර්බ් ආම්බුරුවෝ කිව්වා මේ කිව්වා මේ ඩිස්ටර්බ් වෙනවා කියලා නිකන් හරි බෑන්න දැන් යාර බෑන්න නෙමෙයි යාර ගන්න ඒගොල්ලෝ නිකන් කිව්වා ඩිස්ටර්බ් වෙනවා කියලා නිකන් ගෞරවයි කියලා තමයි කිව්වේ පස්සේ මොන දෙයක් නැති මට කෝල් එකක් මම කතා කරලා දොරෙන් ගියා ගිහලා ඒක වල අරගෙන ඉන්න සයිලන්ට් කරනවා මම දාලා අතල ගියා ඔව් ඊට පස්සේ මම කිසි කෝල් එකක් කරන්නේ දැන් ඒක තමයි දෙපාර්තමේන්තුව මාර්ගය කරන්නේ යෝනිසු කරා ගන්න ඉතින් මේ ඔව් ඒක ගැත්ත දැන් මොකද මම කතා කරේ කියලා ඉතින් දැන් ගෙදර ආවට පස්සේ දැන් ඉතුවා අනේ ඔයාලට මම කෝල් දෙකක් මම ගත්තා යාම කියලා කියලා පස්සේ වැලින්න මට කෝල් කරලා ඔව් ඒක යනවා ඔතන කියනවාද මේ පන්සල ආ ඒක පස්සේ ගාන්නේ තියෙන්නේ මට ලෙක්චර්ස් තුනක් තියෙනවා මේ ආ ආ ඔව් කියනවා ඒක නෑ ඒක කරගන්න දැන් යා ලංගියක් දන්නේ ළමයි මටයි දෙකදී යා ලංගියක් දන්නේ ළමයි යනවා කිව්වා කියලා ඉතින් මටයි ඉන්නේ ඇත්තටම බලන් ඉන්නවා පස්සේ මට කෝල් එකක් ආවම මන් දිව එළියේ අවුල කියලා නේද ආ ආ
Again. Oh, meeting එක එන්නේ. ඔව් මිනිහ එක එන්නේ. මෙසේන කතා කරන්න. Okay, right. We'll start. So we'll continue from the presentation we did previously. Okay, today we are going to talk about psychological tests and their types, right? So, why do we conduct psychological tests? What's the purpose? What's the purpose of conducting psychological tests? Even it says in the note. So, we conduct psychological tests to identify the abilities, attitudes, motivations, and needs of individuals, right? So then Anne Anastasi, a famous psychologist, right, defined some psychological tests. She says that these psychological tests can be defined as a sample of an individual's behavior. So through psychological tests, we can learn about individual's behavior, right? And here that through psychological tests, we can get a score, a numeric score, right? A number we can obtain. From that, we can come to know about the person's abilities, attitudes, or motivations or needs, right? Right. Then, if you consider about standardized psychological tests, right? Standardized psychological test means the test score obtained by the individual are compared with standard test scores. And සම්මත test score එකක් තියෙනවා ඒකත් එක්ක compare කරනවා මේ අපි ගන්න psychological test, right? So then there are different psychological tests. I will show you some of the examples. There are different psychological tests. They are conducted in various ways. Sometimes some questions have yes or no options. Some have right or wrong options. Sometimes the individual has to write detailed information, open-ended questions, right? To write about the person's attitudes, moods, and all. Then, general psychological tests are conducted and interpreted on the basis of a manual that gives detailed information regarding the test. So there are manuals. Manual is a book-like thing, right? A manual is just like a book. It gives lots of instructions and information on how to conduct the psychological tests and how to maintain its accuracy and reliability. So the psychological tests are used to assess various characteristics of a person, right? So from behavior characteristics to attitudes, aptitudes, needs, and all, right? We'll see the types of psychological tests. Okay. there are intelligence tests. බුද්ධිය මනින ඒවා බුද්ධි මට්ටම මනින. Then ability tests. හැකියාව මනින. Interest tests, personality tests, achievement tests, right? So all these tests have their specific purpose. එක කරන හේතුවක් තියෙනවා. And assesses different characteristics and attitudes of the individual. Right. Then any psychological test to be of use to the counselor as well as the client. Now there are some psychological tests that are useful for the counselor as well as the client. They must have these characteristics. These characteristics should be there. The test must be reliable in the sense that it must give accurate and consistent result. So then the psychological test must be reliable. එක හරිය විශ්වාසවන්ත test එකක් වෙන්න. Right? And the result should be accurate and consistent. Consistent means now when we give this time, it gives one result, and when we give another time, it gives another result. That can't happen. So every time, whenever give the test, it should have the same results. That means that cannot be changed. Next one. I want to keep this somewhere. Right. So then the test must be valid in the sense that it measures exactly what it is intended to measure. يعني යා measure කරන්න බලාපොරොත්තු වෙන නියම දේ හරියටම measure වෙන්න ඕනි. එතකොට තමයි test එක valid වෙන්නේ. Right? So test valids. The test is valid when it measures exactly what the intended thing to be measured. අපිට අවශ්‍ය දේ හරියට measure කරනවා අපිට කියනවා valid test එකක් කියලා. Right? Then right. The test must be practical and usable. It should be practical test. It should be usable test. Otherwise, if we can't use, it's useless. Then it can be easily administered in a cost-effective manner without spending a lot of money. We should be able to give the test very easily. Right? Then it should take less time. If it takes a lot of time, it's useless. Then according to Lee Joseph Cronbach, an American educational psychologist, so then he gave different purposes of conducting intelligent tests. One is prediction. Prediction means
Excuse me, ma'am.
the psychological test that the individual is taking should provide the decision he or she is going to take at the end of the he or she is going to take for the problem at the end of the test. So now it should give some predictions. It should be able to predict the solutions taken by the individual for the problems. Another characteristic of psychology is selection. So selection tests are there. That is selection for a course or selection for a job. So it assesses the skills and
Excuse me,
ability
ma'am.
of a person. Right? So
Ma'am?
yeah.
Yeah, you didn't change the slide, ma'am. We can.
Why?
I
No.
can't see your slide.
Yes, madam.
Anne,
Here is
sorry.
your-
Wait. I'll do that. Let me stop share. Wait. හැබැයි මොකක් හරි වෙලා තියෙන offset එක මේකේ. Wait. See whether you can see. Can you see now? Psychological test. Can you see this?
Madam. Yes, madam.
All right. Okay. I'll explain. Right. Okay. I'll explain from the beginning. Can you see now psychological test and their types?
Yes, madam.
Ma'am, the types of the slide is not working. After the types of psychology test, ma'am.
Yes. Now I'm going to explain from the beginning now. Just give you a brief explanation up to the place that I had been explaining.
Okay,
Right. Okay.
okay.
So today we are going to talk about psychological tests and different types of psychological tests, right? So then, why do we conduct psychological tests? What's the purpose? We conduct psychological tests to learn about abilities, attitudes, motivations, and needs of individuals. So we have large number of psychological tests to learn about these things of the candidate person. We can, so through certain psychological tests, we can learn about their abilities, about their attitudes, motivations, then their needs, right? So, once famous psychologist Anne Anastasi, that she talks about psychological tests. According to her, she says that through psychological tests, individuals' behavior can be obtained, can be assessed. So, the psychological test give us a numeric score, a number. So, from that we can get a number, right? A value. So, then she says, a sample of an individual's behavior obtaining under standard condition and scored according to a fixed set of rules that provide a numeric score. So these intelligent tests have fixed set of rules. They have fixed set of rules and they are standard tests, right? They are taken under standard conditions. Okay, then if the test to become standardized psychological test, so then the score given, now score obtained by the individual is compared with the test scores obtained from samples of tests. Now before giving a test, they have a pilot test. They have a pilot test and then from the pilot test, they get some scores. ඒව තමයි අර එකත් එක්ක compare කරන්න. They consider them as standard scores. Then this standard score is compared with the score obtained by the individual. Right. Then psychological tests can be conducted in various ways. Right. Sometimes they may require individual to answer yes or no. Sometimes right or wrong. Sometimes the individual has to give detailed information like open-ended questions, right? So then there are certain information we collect about the attitudes, moods of a person. Right? Then there's a manual. Manual means a small booklet that gives instructions and steps on how to conduct psychological tests. So then they emphasize about the accuracy and reliability of the test. So if you conduct a psychological test, so the manual explains through its rules and regulations how to make it so accurate and reliable. Right. Then psychological test assesses various characteristics of a person. Right. So the behavior characteristics are assessed. And there are several psychological tests. They are intelligence tests, ability tests, interest tests, personality tests, achievement tests. Right? So each of these tests have purpose. Right? There's a purpose of conducting these tests and they are assessed. They assess different characteristics and attitudes of the individual. So then, any psychological test used by a counselor and a client must have these characteristics, right? Any psychological test conducted by counselor and used by the client must have these characteristics. One is they must be reliable, accurate, and consistent. Consistent means that if the test is conducted anywhere at any time, it should give same results. There can be that means drastic changes. So therefore, it should be consistent. Wherever we give this, there should be consistency in the psychological test. Then, the test must be valid I can't see it. All right. The test must be valid in the sense that it measures exactly what it is intended to measure, right? So now we give test with some intention. With some intention means we have some kind of purpose in our tests. In our head, we have some kind of purpose. So then the test must be valid in the sense that it measures exactly what is intended to measure. අපි measure කරන්න බලාපොරොත්තු වෙන හරියට measure කරන්න පුළුවන් වෙන්න ඕනි මේ test එකෙන්. Then only it becomes valid, right? Right. Then these psychological tests must be practical tests and usable tests and easy to administer, easy to conduct. Cost effective, that means it doesn't take much money to conduct the test, as well as it should take less time. Otherwise, it's useless of giving psychological tests, right? So they should be practical, they should be usable, easy to conduct, then cost effective, and it should take less time. Then according to Lee Joseph Cronbach, an American educational psychologist, so he gave different purposes of psychological tests. He said that psychological tests should be able to predict the solutions taken by the individual to the problem, right? So he said that the decisions taken by the individual or solutions for the problems, for certain problems, should be predicted. Other one is psychological tests are often conducted by various organizations and institutions to identify the skills and abilities of the individuals, especially when they recruit people for jobs or when they admit children for courses. They check their skills and abilities through selection tests, right? Next one, classification. Psychological tests are used to classify individuals. They classify individuals on the basis of their aptitude and attitude. According to their aptitude and attitude, they classify. For example, students may need to undertake psychological tests to classify those with high aptitude level as one group. Now, if a teacher wants to divide the students with high aptitude levels and put them into one class, super class. Teacher wants to create a super class. So teacher gives an aptitude test, and from there she selects the students who have got over 60 marks and put them into one class. That is called super class. So like that, they can classify the individuals according to their knowledge, right? That means that even that when you follow English courses, your knowledge is classified. Level 1. Lower levels, preliminary level, intermediate level, and you are divided accordingly. Then evaluation. Psychological tests are also undertaken to assess and evaluate programs. They assess and evaluate programs, psychological tests. Not only the programs, they evaluate methods, they evaluate techniques, right? So then, thereby they decide whether these tests are applicable or not. Whether these methods or techniques or programs are applicable. Apply කරන්න පුළුවන්ද කියලා තමයි ඒ psychological tests වලින් බලන්නේ. Right. Intelligence tests. Has anybody sat for any intelligence test? The intelligence test word. Right. Intelligence test is one of the most commonly used psychological term that has been used to distinguish people. To identify people, they use intelligence tests. So then, Intelligence is basically an understanding of how well the individual understands a complex process. So if a person is given a complex process, how well he can understand it and how well he can get experiences from it. So then, on this basis, a person who is able to understand the complex processes, if a person can understand some complex processes well, and if he or she can use them well, they are called intelligent people, right? So according to intelligence tests, if a person can understand complex processes and gets experiences, then, and he can use them, he can understand the complex process and he can use them well, is considered to be an intelligent person. So then, intelligence cannot be measured by only one thing. By giving a test only, we can't measure intelligence. Right? So, intelligence tests measure a variety of mental functions and abilities of the individual. So, they measure different mental functions and abilities of a person. Then, intelligence tests are based on 9 different and independent intelligence. There are 9 intelligence given by Howard Gardner. Have you heard about Howard Gardner when you were learning psychology? He introduced multiple intelligences, right? According to Gardner, there are 9 different, 9 different and independent intelligence. They interact together. To enable the individual to find a solution to his problem. Thus, the theory of multiple intelligence states that intelligence is not a single entity intelligence, aspect. And a person's intelligence cannot be measured on the basis of excellence at a specific task. So we can't say his intelligence is excellent by measuring his only one aspect. So it is a broader thing. Okay. Let's watch a video on multiple intelligences. Wait. Can you see the screen? Can you see the screen? What is Howard Gardner's multiple intelligences? Can you see the screen?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes,
Okay. Okay, right. We'll see whether you can hear also.
Imagine you're going to give a presentation in class or at work. Would you include pictures to illustrate your points? Would you tell a story or act out a skit? The methods you choose would draw on your talents and reflect the way that you solve problems.
Can you hear it?
yes,
Can you
ma'am.
hear? Okay, okay.
And learn. So, if visual aids like maps and drawings help you understand concepts, you're likely to include them in your presentation. But if someone else watching your presentation learns by doing, they might not be able to follow along unless you use body language and actions to physically demonstrate what you're talking about. American psychologist Howard Gardner first recognized that people have different ways of learning and problem solving. He worked with autistic patients who excelled at music or math, although they lacked social awareness or the ability to communicate effectively with others. Gardner proposed the theory of multiple intelligences which suggests that people have different strengths and different ways of solving problems. Gardner's theory was groundbreaking because before he proposed multiple intelligences, only logic and math were tested. Gardner's system created a more descriptive, multi-dimensional approach. Before, IQ was used as shorthand for learning potential and capability, but only people who were good at solving math problems were smart according to the test. Gardner's work helped to explain diverse learning styles and approaches, allowing for educational developments which have changed how we teach. From these studies, a list of 8 types of intelligences was created. When you were in high school, maybe people were looked down upon if they weren't good at football, but were good at math. Gardner showed that there are many types of smart. The football players had one type of intelligence, and the math team had another.
Wait. I'll show you another one. They don't give the access further.
එකින්ම කැමැත්ත ඩොක්ටර් නලින්ද ජයතිස්ස අංක එකින් කළුත
පිළියන්දල පහතලියෙන් පින් කොටසම ලක්ෂ 39 සිට.
Gardner's theory of multiple intelligences.
Can you see the screen?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
So you can see Gardner's theory of multiple intelligence, a picture with a lady.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, madam.
We'll see whether you can hear also.
The theory of multiple intelligences was first proposed by Howard Gardner in his
Can you hear?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, madam.
1983 book titled Frames of Mind, where he broadens the definition of intelligence and outlines several distinct types of intellectual competences. Gardner argues that all people have different kinds of intelligences. He further argues that we may all have these intelligences, but our profile of these intelligences may differ individually based on genetics or experience. It is important to note that Gardner defines intelligence as a biopsychological potential to process information that can be activated in a cultural setting to solve problems or create products that are of value in a culture. As we can see, to capture the full range of abilities and talents that people possess, Gardner theorized that people do not have just an intellectual capacity, but have many kinds of intelligence, including musical, interpersonal, spatial visual, and linguistic intelligences. This suggests that the traditional notion of intelligence, based on IQ testing, is far too limited. Hence, Gardner proposes 8 different intelligences to account for a broader range of human potential in children and adults. Let me now briefly discuss these 8 types of intelligences. First, linguistic intelligence. Linguistic intelligence is a part of Howard Gardner's multiple intelligence theory that deals with sensitivity to the spoken and written language, ability to learn languages, and capacity to use language to accomplish certain goals. According to Gardner, people with linguistic intelligence, such as Martin Luther King Jr. and Bill Gates, have an ability to analyze information and create products involving oral and written language such as speeches, books, and memos.
Okay. What is linguistic intelligence? What do you mean by linguistic intelligence? Now you watch the video. What is linguistic intelligence? So people's
Deals with the spoken and written language, ma'am.
people's ability to the spoken and written language, and as well as they have the ability to learn languages, and they can use language for their goals and their purposes, right? That means they can do lots of very good speeches, right? They can write books, they write memos. So that is the linguistic intelligence of people. So do you have linguistic intelligence?
Yes.
Yes, you can speak, you can write, You have the ability to learn languages. Now you can learn Sinhala, English, then Tamil and some other language. Then we use language to achieve our goals. So then Martin Luther King and Bill Gates, they are people with linguistic intelligence. So they were able to write books. They could do good speeches. Right.
Second, logical mathematical intelligence. For Gardner, logical mathematical intelligence refers to the capacity to analyze problems logically, carry out mathematical operations, and investigate issues scientifically. Gardner believes that people with logical mathematical intelligence, such as Albert Einstein and Steve Jobs, have an ability to develop equations and proofs, make calculations, and solve abstract problems. Third, spatial intelligence. Spatial intelligence features Steve Jobs have an ability to develop equations and proofs, make calculations, and solve abstract problems.
Right. Okay. Tell me, what is logical mathematical intelligence? What do you mean by logical mathematical intelligence? Huh?
Ability to solve the mathematical theories, ma'am.
Yes, then the capacity to analyze problems logically. We just, now when we get a problem, we logically analyze it. So we think why this happened, how it happened, and what will happen if we do like this. Like that, we analyze the problem logically. So then logical mathematical intelligence, they carry out mathematical operations. They investigate issues in a scientific manner, not just in a superficial manner. They investigate issues in scientific manner. So these people have people with logical mathematical intelligence. So they are Albert Einstein, Steve Jobs. So they have the ability to develop equations. Samana Kirim proofs. They can do calculations. They can solve abstract problems, deep problems. They can solve. Right? Understood? Logical mathematical intelligence. Could you understood that?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
Yes, madam.
Okay. We'll go to the next one.
Third, spatial intelligence. Spatial intelligence features the potential to recognize and manipulate the patterns of wide space, for instance, those used by navigators and pilots, as well as the patterns of more confined areas, such as those of importance to sculptors, surgeons, chess players, graphic artists, or architects. According to Gardner, people with spatial intelligence, such as Garry Kasparov and Leonardo da Vinci, have an ability to recognize and manipulate large-scale and fine-grained spatial images.
Right. Okay. What is spatial intelligence? So they have the idea of the space, the objects in the space. They can identify and they can manipulate. They can use the objects in a certain space. So these navigators and pilots, that means captains of ships and pilots, they use spatial intelligence. Right. Then those of importance to sculptors, surgeons, chess players, graphic artists, and architects. They mostly they use spatial intelligence. ඒගොල්ලන්ට place එක ගැන objects ගැන අවබෝධයක් තියෙන්න ඕනේ. So then people with spatial intelligence are Garry Kasparov, Leonardo da Vinci. They have the ability to recognize and manipulate large scale and fine grained spatial images. So they can manipulate spatial images, and they have a very good idea about the space and how objects are located in a certain space. We'll go to the next one.
Fourth, bodily kinesthetic intelligence. For Gardner, bodily kinesthetic intelligence is the potential of using one's whole body or parts of the body, like the hand or the mouth, to solve problems or to fashion products. People with bodily kinesthetic intelligence, such as Michael Jordan and Muhammad Ali, have an ability to use one's own body to create products, perform skills, or solve problems through mind-body union. Fifth, musical intelligence. And aesthetic intelligence, such as Michael Jordan and Muhammad Ali, have an ability to use one's own body to create products, perform skills, or solve problems through mind-body union.
Okay. What is bodily kinesthetic intelligence? Yeah. What do you mean by bodily kinesthetic intelligence?
Using the whole body and the parts.
Yeah. Using the body or parts of the body for a purpose. Right? So now if we consider about this Muhammad Ali, so what are the parts of the body he used for boxing?
Hands.
Hands, even that he has to use the brain to judge what's happening. So an ability to use one's own body to create products, perform skills, or solve problems through mind-body reunion. So then we need, now he can't just use hands. He need to think before fighting. So then mind-body interaction is there. So then an ability to use one's own body to create products. There are some people who create products, who perform skills or solve problems through mind-body union. So there's a connection between mind and body of a person.
Fifth, musical intelligence. According to Gardner, musical intelligence refers to the skill in the performance, composition, and appreciation of musical patterns. People with musical intelligence, such as Beethoven and Freddie Mercury, have an ability to recognize and create musical pitch, rhythm, timbre, and tone. Sixth, interpersonal intelligence. Interpersonal intelligence is the capacity to understand the intentions, motivations, and desires of other people and consequently to work effectively with others. Gardner believes that people with interpersonal intelligence, such as Mahatma Gandhi and Mother Teresa, have an ability to recognize and understand other people's moods, desires, motivations, and intentions. Seventh, intrapersonal intelligence.
Wait.
Interpersonal intelligence, such as Mahatma Gandhi and Mother Teresa, have an ability to recognize and understand other people's moods, desires, motivations, and intentions.
Okay, right. So then what is musical intelligence? What do you mean by musical intelligence?
Skill to perform and compose music patterns.
Yes, on the that is a skill in performing, composing, appreciation of musical patterns. Right. So these people are Beethoven, Freddie Mercury. So they have the ability to recognize and create pitch, rhythm, time, and tone. So they can use all these things to create a very nice song. Right? Okay, interpersonal intelligence. What do you mean by interpersonal intelligence? What is interpersonal? Okay, interpersonal.
Ability to recognize and understand other people's mood.
Yes, interpersonal means they can work with other people, working with other people. So they can understand intentions, motivations, desires of other people. So then they work cooperatively, effectively with each other. Right? So the examples given by him for people with interpersonal intelligence are Mahatma Gandhi and Mother Teresa. So people with good interpersonal intelligence, they have the ability to recognize and understand other people's moods. They can easily understand other people's moods, desires, motivations, intentions. Right? People who are good with interpersonal intelligences, they have the ability to recognize and understand other people's moods, desires, mountains, and intentions. Okay. Can we go to the other one?
Yes, ma'am.
Seventh, intrapersonal intelligence. According to Gardner, intrapersonal intelligence is the capacity to understand oneself, to have an effective working model of oneself, including one's desires, fears, and capacities, and to use such information effectively in regulating one's own life. For Gardner, people with intrapersonal intelligence, such as Soren Kierkegaard and Albert Camus, have an ability to recognize and understand his or her own moods, desires, motivations, and intentions. This type of intelligence, according to Gardner, can help a person to understand which life goals are important and how to achieve them.
Right. Okay. What is intrapersonal? Earlier we talked about interpersonal. Intrapersonal means within us. So then, if a person has intrapersonal intelligence, he knows his capacities, the strengths, weaknesses, what he should improve, what are his desires, fears, capacities, right? So that they collect this information effectively through intrapersonal intelligence test. Then Gardner said that a teacher has the ability to recognize and understand. No. He said that a person has the ability to recognize and understand his or her own moods, desires, motivations, and intentions. So then, this intrapersonal intelligence help a person to understand which life goals are important and how to achieve them. What are the important life goals and how to achieve them.
And eighth, naturalist intelligence. Naturalistic intelligence involves expertise in the recognition and classification of the numerous species, such as the flora and fauna, of one's environment. People with naturalistic intelligence, such as Charles Darwin and Jane Goodall, have an ability to identify and distinguish among different types of plants, animals, and weather formations that are found in the natural world. Implications for learning.
Right. So what do you mean by natural intelligence? So they are interested in the environment, trees, and animals, right? So they recognize and classify different species like flora and fauna. Flora means trees, fauna means animals in the environment. So then people with naturalistic intelligence, they are Charles Darwin, Jane Goodall. They have the ability to identify and distinguish among different types of plants. They can distinguish different plants, animals, weather formations that is found in the environment.
Gardner says that our schools and culture focus most of their attention on linguistic and logical mathematical intelligence. We esteem the highly articulate or logical people of our culture.
මේ මංචි ලෙමන් පෆ් සැබවින්ම අතිවිශිෂ්ටයි.
However, Gardner says that we should also place equal attention on individuals who show gifts in the other intelligences, such as the artists, architects, musicians, naturalists, designers, dancers, therapists, entrepreneurs, and others who enrich the world in which we live. Unfortunately, many children who have these gifts don't receive much reinforcement for them in school. Many of these kids, in fact, end up being labeled learning disabled, attention deficit disorder, or simply underachievers, when their unique ways of thinking and learning aren't addressed by a heavily linguistic or logical mathematical classroom. Thus, the theory of multiple intelligences proposes a major transformation in the way our schools are run. It suggests that teachers be trained to present their lessons in a wide variety of ways using music. Attention on individuals who show gifts in the other intelligences, such as the artists, architects, musicians, naturalists, designers, dancers, therapists, entrepreneurs, and others who enrich the world in which we live. Unfortunately, many children who have these gifts don't receive much reinforcement for them in school. Many of these kids, in fact, end up being labeled learning disabled, attention deficit disorder, or simply underachievers, when their unique ways of thinking and learning aren't addressed by a heavily linguistic or logical mathematical classroom.
Okay, right. So you were talking about number of intelligences. So then, so there are artists, architects, musicians, naturalists, designers, dancers, therapists, entrepreneurs, and others who enrich the world in which we live. So they have different abilities and skills. Then many children who have these gifts don't receive much reinforcement from them in school. What is a reinforcement? You learn it in psychology. What is a reinforcement? Anybody who can tell me what is a reinforcement is? What a reinforcement is? So reinforcement, there are two types of reinforcements. Positive reinforcements and negative reinforcements. We give positive reinforcements to encourage somebody to do something. As an example, now if a child sees a paper and he puts it into the bin, right? What would be your response to this child? How do you act? Yes, tell. Yeah. Okay. So then there are people, there are artists, architects, musicians, naturalists, designers, dancers, therapists. Therapists means who give treatments, entrepreneurs, and others who enrich the world we live in. So their children are given reinforcements, positive reinforcements are given to encourage them to do that actions again and again. So then if a child sees a wrapper or a paper, he puts it to a bin. What would be your reinforcement? Do you give negative reinforcement or a positive reinforcement for the child? Tell.
Positive reinforcement.
Yeah, what is it? Yeah, what kind of positive reinforcements we can give the children?
Good behavior.
No. Here you can appreciate the child. You can pat on his shoulder. You can give him a sticker. You can give him a small present. Verbally, you can appreciate him. Okay, Puta, you have done a good job. So do more and more. So we give positive reinforcements for the children to do it again and again. Do more and more. Now imagine you see a child is dragging a chair. ළමයි පාරේ ඇදගෙන යනවා මේ පුටුවක්. What kind of reinforcement would you give? You give positive reinforcement or a negative reinforcement?
Negative reinforcement.
Right. So then what are negative reinforcements? We can scold the child. We can punish the child. What is it? What is it for? What do we do by negative reinforcements? We want to stop that action. If we want to stop that action, we can give negative reinforcements. If we want to encourage a person to do more and more, we can give positive reinforcement. Right. Then there are children with learning disabilities. Right. So therefore, these children with learning disabilities, they are underachievers. Who are children with learning disabilities? What are the learning disabilities children have? What disabilities? If you are teachers, you know what kind of disabilities the children have. Learning disabilities, I'm asking. Yeah?
Short-term memory.
Yes, they have that, they can't keep the things in memory. Attention deficit. Then they can't keep attention. They can keep the things in memory. What else?
Vision problem.
Vision problem. Hearing problems. So they are underachievers. So they can't achieve like other people. They are underachievers, right? So then, so they can't fully attend to their learning like other children. They can't think logically. Their linguistic intelligence, their mathematical intelligence, they are all are low, right? Okay.
Thus, the theory of multiple intelligences proposes a major transformation in the way our schools are run. It suggests that teachers be trained to present their lessons in a wide variety of ways using music, cooperative learning, art activities, role play, multimedia, field trips, inner reflection, and much more. The theory of multiple intelligences also has strong implications for adult learning and development. Many adults find themselves in jobs that do not make optimal use of their most highly developed intelligences. For example, the highly bodily kinesthetic individual who is stuck in a linguistic or logical desk job when he or she would be much happier in a job where they could move around, such as a recreational leader, a forest ranger, or physical therapist. For this reason, the theory of multiple intelligences gives adults a whole new way to look at their lives, examining potentials that they left when he or she would be much happier in a job where they could move around, such as a
Okay, right. Then, theory of multiple intelligence proposes a major transformation in the way our schools are run. So, according to Howard Gardner, he suggests that the way of teaching should be transformed. How? What kind of things can we make use of? What kind of methods we can incorporate in our teaching? Yes, what are they? We have to use music in our lessons, right? Then cooperative learning. We have to give children opportunity to work with others to learn cooperatively. So we can give art activities, role play. We can use multimedia to show them videos, PowerPoint presentations, right? We can take them for field trips. So we can ask them to reflect on the things they do. එයාලා කරපු දේ ආපහු රිෆ්ලෙක්ට් කරන්න නැවත ආවර්ජනය කරලා බලන්න ඒ වෙලේ හරිද නැත්නම් වෙනස් කරන්න ඕනේද, right? So then multiple intelligence has a very strong implication for adult learning, right? So then, okay.
recreational leader, a forest ranger, or physical therapist. For this,
Right. Then, many adults find themselves in jobs that do not make optimal use of their most highly developed intelligences, because there are some adults, they can't fully use their knowledge or skills or abilities in their jobs, right? So there are some, because there are different learning styles. There are some learners who are auditory learners. They learn only by listening. There are visual learners. They learn only by looking at things. There are kinesthetic learners. So they learn by doing things. So if the people who are interested in doing things, that if they get a job like clerical job, that they are not interested, right? Okay. Who is stuck in a linguistic or logical desk job, when he or she would be much happier in a job where they could move around. So if so there are some people, those who like to work, that means automobile workers, electricians, then carpenters, mason workers. So they all are highly bodily kinesthetic individuals. They like to do things and learn. So they are engaging in working, doing, right? So, okay, we'll continue.
For this reason, the theory of multiple intelligences gives adults a whole new way to look at their lives, examining potentials that they left behind in their childhood, such as a love for art or drama, but now have the opportunity to develop through courses, hobbies, or other programs of self-development.
Right. So then, so there are some people who like to move around. That means they like to do field jobs, working in a field. So if they are given a job like clerical job, they don't like, they're not satisfied, right? So then the theory of multiple intelligences gives adults a whole new way to look at their lives. So they give some insight for us to think of our life, right? Okay, examining potentials that they left behind in their child. Potential means our abilities, right? So there are some children who love dramas, arts. So then, so they have the opportunity to develop, because now if there are people who love arts or dramas, so they can make use of them in their work. Even now, as an example, if you want to become, if you are good at, if you love arts or drama, when you become a teacher, you can make use of them. So in your lessons, you can use small dramas, you can draw arts for them to prepare visual aids for them to learn, right? So you can include role plays in your lessons. So you can make use of these things in your job, right?
Another important educational implication from the theory of multiple intelligences can be summed up through individuation and pluralization. Individuation posits that because each person differs from another, there is no logical reason to teach and assess students identically. Individualized education has typically been reserved for the wealthy and others who could afford to hire tutors to address individual students' needs. Technology has now made it possible for more people to access a variety of teachings and assessments depending on their needs. Hence, pluralization, the idea that topics and skills should be taught in more than one way, activates individuals' multiple intelligences.
Right. And this is not necessary. So we need to refer to multiple intelligences. Okay, we'll go back. Right. So then we discussed about Howard Gardner's multiple intelligences. So we talked about linguistic intelligence, the ability of the individual to make use of language to express his thoughts and to understand others. Then logical mathematical intelligence. So that is the ability of the individual to think logically, critically, and the person use symbols to solve mathematical problems. Then spatial intelligence, that is the ability of a person to use mental images and enable a person to understand the relationship of objects in a space. Space එකේ තියෙන objects ගැන ඒවට තියෙන relationship එක ගැන idea එකක් තියෙනවා. Spatial intelligence. Musical intelligence, he is capable of creating, producing, and manipulating musical patterns. Then bodily kinesthetic intelligence, that is individual's ability to make use of his body and muscles in a coordinated manner to facilitate movement and to do various tasks. So he does various tasks using his body and mind. Now, even if you want to play cricket, you need your muscle power and your brain. So both you have to use. Interpersonal intelligence, so then it enables a person to find out why the other people behave in a specific manner. You are working, interacting with other people in interpersonal intelligence. Then intrapersonal intelligence means within you. So you learn your capacities, your strengths, your weaknesses, right? And you understand yourself, right? Okay. Then naturalistic intelligence, that means It is the ability of person to understand the nature and environment that he lives in. So he understands the beauty of the nature and importance of the environment, and he identifies how to lead a happy life, healthy life. Then existential intelligence, so this refers to ability of a person to understand the basics of human existence. So what are the things that a human needs to exist, right? Okay. So then, if we consider about, there are 4 basic intelligence tests that are used to measure the intelligence of a person, right? There are 4 basic intelligence tests. They are used to measure the intelligence of a person, right? I hope you can see. I couldn't ask you whether you can see the screen. Can you see the screen?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, right. So then, Binet-Simon scale, Alfred Binet and Simon, they both got together to prepare some scales of people, right? That is, they created intelligence tests. Okay. Then again, this test was developed by psychologists Alfred Binet and Theodore Simon. So the test was basically formulated to test the intelligence of children. So they wanted to test the intelligence of children, right? So then they wanted to implement this in the age group of 3 to 12 years to measure their intelligence, right? Okay. Now, these are the activities they give in their intelligence test, right? So, to understand some tactile stimulus, tactile means to do, they use touching and working with certain things. Then, visual perception, recognizing food items. Then they use simple commands. They imitate simple gestures. So once they are given certain gestures, they do. Touching their hair, crying, touch the fingers, like that, imitating simple gestures. Simple commands, walk towards the teacher's table, jump, run, like that. Then verbal knowledge about objects, verbal knowledge about pictures, naming of particular objects. So the teacher asks to name certain objects. Then immediate comparison of 2 lines of unequal length. So they are given 2 unequal length and they are asked to explain them. Then comparison of 2 weights, defining objects, repetition of sentences of 15 words. There are sentences with 15 words, they have to repeat. Then comparison known objects from memory. From memory, they compare some known objects. Right, so these are some exercise of memory on pictures, drawing a design from memory, draw a design, immediate repetition of figures, resemblance of several non-objects given from memory, comparison of length, 5 weights to be placed in order, that means from simple to smaller to bigger or bigger to smaller. So these are some of the activities they are given. Okay. Then a child is asked to take several tests and the score was based on the score is taken and it is compared with the standard mark. දැන් අතොත් ඒ ටෙස්ට් ගොඩක් කරලා පයිලට් කරලා ස්ටෑන්ඩඩ් මාක් එකක් ගන්නවනේ. So his score is compared with that standard mark, right? So then the Binet-Simon scale basically measured the mental age of the child against the chronological age. What do you mean by mental age? Anybody who knows about mental age of a child? Chronological age is the normal age. Now, if a child is in grade 5, how old is he? If a child is in grade 5, what's the age of the child?
10 years old.
10 years old. Right. So that is his chronological age. What do you mean by mental age? mental age of the child. So then, now if the child is in grade 5, that he is 10 years old, and he is given some papers, aptitude tests for mathematics and Sinhala or English or whatever it is. So if he gets good marks for this, now he is in his chronological age and his mental age are equal. Now he is given a paper from grade 6. He does it also very well. Right? He does this grade 6 students paper very well. Now his mental age is 11 years. So he could do it. So his IQ is higher. And mental age is divided by chronological age multiplied by 100. IQ. His mental age is divided by chronological age. That means that his age and multiplied by 100. So that he could do a paper, that means aptitude test from grade 6 means that his knowledge is higher than the others of the same age. And if he could grade 7, sorry, grade 7 we got 12 years. 12 years is divided by 10 years multiplied by 100. So IQ rate ready. Right, okay. An average score means that the mental age and the chronological age match each other. Now, if the child can do a paper according to his age. Now, if he is 10 years old, he can do a paper according to his age. So, average. Grade 10 time mental age, grade 10 years chronological age, and multiplied by 100. Advanced. Now, he is given a paper belong to grade 8. He could do it. So, grade 8 13 years divided by 10 years. 10 years multiplied by 100. So his IQ rate is higher, advanced. Now imagine the child is given grade 5 paper and he couldn't do it. He got only 10 marks like that. So then his chronological age is 10, mental age is less than 10. So when it is multiplied by 100, he gets a less score. Then he's a retarded one. He had to work Stanford-Binet scale. So then Stanford-Binet scale was developed in 1916 by American psychologist Lewis Terman. So he revised this Binet-Simon scale and expanded it to formulate standard Binet scale, right? So then this scale gave the test score in terms of intelligence quotient. Intelligence quotient means what I told you. Mental age is divided by chronological age multiplied by 100. Intelligence quotient IQ එක right? So then within intelligence quotient is calculated by dividing the mental age by the chronological age, then multiplying by 100. This test allowed children of different age group to be compared on the basis of their IQ scores. Okay. The standard Binet scale measured the factors in different test categories as shown here, like this. With an Alfred Binet scale. Here. Right. Fluid reasoning. Early reasoning, he learned vocabulary, how many words he can pronounce. Non-verbal quantitative reasoning, form broad and form pattern. So these are some of the things measured in. So these are some of the categories that tested in Alfred Binet scale. Right? Okay. So the IQ of the problem is that IQ for different age group is different. And people from different age groups cannot be compared, or it would be wrong to compare people of different age groups. Now we can't compare 10-year-old child's intelligence with 15-year-old child. We can't do that. So we should not compare children with different ages. Right. Then shall we see some of the examples for intelligence tests? Wait. Here is one intelligent test. Wait. Can you see? Hello?
Yes, madam.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
We'll watch only a little, right?
Help you. So a very warm welcome to this video. As I say, that's me there on the right hand side, Richard McMunn, and in the video we're going to focus on and work through some IQ and aptitude test questions. So just a couple of things, make sure you
see the
click the
video,
red
ma'am.
subscribe button
What's
below
that,
this
Puta?
video if you haven't done
What's
so
it?
already.
We
What's
can't
that?
see the video, ma'am.
You can't see the video, you can't hear the video.
We can hear only, ma'am.
You can't see the video.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Can you see now? Welcome to this tutorial. Can you see now?
Yes, ma'am. Now we can.
Yes, ma'am. Okay.
Now see whether you can hear.
Because I'm creating these kind of videos every week, and I
Can you hear also?
Yes, ma'am.
ma'am.
watch it from beginning to end, and I will also give you a copy of these slides too. Okay, let's get straight into it. Question number 1. The average temperature throughout a 5-day period was 65 degrees. If the temperature was 67 degrees on 2 of the days, 70 degrees on another, and 68 degrees on another, what was it on the 5th day? And we have 5 options, and this is common in an IQ and aptitude test. You have multiple choice answers, and they are usually very similar to each other. So A is 53 degrees, B is 57, C is 58, D is 60, and E is 61. So the only way to get good at these test questions is to learn how to do them, but also practice lots. And I'm going to get you to have a go at some of these very soon. Okay, the answer to this question number 1 is A, 53 degrees. How do we get to the answer? Well, step 1. We have to multiply 65, which is the average, over the 5-day period, so 65 by 5, to get 325 degrees in total. Once we've got that figure, we go to step 2 of the process, and we then subtract from 325 the 4 degrees that we already have for 4 of the days. So we've got 67 plus 67, because it tells us on 2 of the days it's 67 degrees. On the 3rd day it's 70. On the 4th it's 68. So we add all of those together, subtract them from 325 to get our answer, which is 53 degrees. Okay, I want you to have a go at this kind of question now, please. So post your answer to question 2 in the comments section below the video, and I will come on here each day and mark them for you. So there is also a timer there on the right hand side, and you're going to get 12 seconds to answer this question. That's not very long, but I promise you, if you practice under time conditions, then your ability to answer these will improve greatly. So question 2, the average temperature throughout a 4-day period was 70 degrees. If the temperature was 65 degrees on 2 of the days and 70 on another, what was it on the 4th day? So here are your 5 options. A is at 85 degrees, B 80, C 82, D 90, or E 79. So please post your answer to question 2 in the comment section below for marking. Now you're going to see this timer go down in a second. You've got 12 seconds. If you are struggling and you need further time, please simply pause the video and work out your answer and put it in the comment section below. Here we go.
Okay, right. Now, I think you can have an idea about aptitude tests, right? Any other thing you want to get clarified? Let's see whether there are some other tests. Right? So do you have any doubts to get clarified related to psychological tests? Anything you want to clarify? So these are some of the activities that I have shared. Yeah. Right. So can you see now the screen?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes,
Yeah.
ma'am.
These are some of the things that they test: their working memory, visual spatial processing, quantitative reasoning, knowledge, fluid reasoning. So these are the things that they use in their IQ tests. Anything you want to get clarified from what I have discussed today about psychological tests? I can give you some of them next day. Psychological test. We are talking about intelligence test today, only intelligence tests. So we can talk about ability test, interest test, personality test, achievement test next day. So anything you did not understand related to intelligence test, tell me. If you did not understand related to anything about intelligence tests. Who introduced intelligence tests? How they introduced, Kari? Alfred Binet. Right. Could you get some ideas about the psychological test, especially about intelligence tests? Do you have any idea? So why do we use intelligence tests? At what occasions we use intelligence tests? Okay. At what occasions we use intelligence tests? Look at the intelligence tests. Why do we use them? To identify the IQ of children. So then we can identify whether they are average children, whether they are gifted children, whether they are slow learners by using intelligence tests. Any other thing you want to get clarified? Hello. Any idea? Tell about your view. Tell some ideas. Again. Whether you did not understand or whether you understood. Whether you need any clarification.
Understood, ma'am.
Okay. Any other thing you want to get clarified? Okay, so then I will explain the other tests: ability test, interest test, and personality test. Other tests next day. So I think intelligence test is more than enough today with Howard Gardner's multiple intelligences. So did you understand Howard Gardner's multiple intelligences?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Right then. So thank you very much. We'll meet next day. We'll discuss some of the intelligence tests. Did you receive the PowerPoint presentation sent?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, madam.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
Okay, right. Okay. I'll send this also. Okay, thank you for being here. So we'll meet next day. Okay, good night.
Good night, ma'am.
Good night, ma'am. Thank
Good
you, ma'am.
night, madam.
Thank you, ma'am.